back. Lord Kamal, representing British Muslims, will present the bracelets or armils for the King.
Receive the bracelets of sincerity and wisdom, token of the Lord's protection.
Issues that matter to voters, jobs, economy, that would count against him.
But he recently threw up some job figures, and if jobs haven't if jobs haven't been created,
see,
his biggest contender, Alan,
No,
would not be innocent of that.
It is for him to sell that message. At the moment, in the polls, on the economy and the job, is lagging behind. So for voters, you must convince them that, yes, it is you who was behind these things, and that if they trust you again, they will be safe. What we have seen, data doesn't show that people trust him on the economy or trust him on job issue. And these are the top 3 election issues facing Ghanaians. So, and I've said that...
They're the top 3 issues.
Jobs, economy, and education.
Economy and education. By education, they may be doing well. He may score high on education because of free SHS.
If you look at voters who mention job or education and who they are voting for, even in the MPP race, it's not miles ahead like compared to Alan. So on those issues that people think that you are the one that we can trust you must be miles ahead, but he's not. So he really need to see the figures as they are and see how he can communicate.
But he's not getting into it because it's now openly beginning to show his face. Now I'm mindful of how I say it because of Richie Jama. But he's now beginning to show his face.
I mean, for us when we do our work, we put all the facts out there for you to see where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. It's for him to look at those figures, and even indeed the Allen campaign as well, to see how they can utilize the poll numbers. Until you are able to convince the voters, and invariably the delegates, because I believe strongly that there's a correlation between the voters, MPP voters, and delegates.
I see. So the delegates, I don't know whether I should ask you or ask Nyama. There was an election, polling station, executives election, constituency, and all these guys in the end will become delegates. And so it would mean that those who are for Alan would have been elected already. Those who are for Bawumia would have been elected already. Is there a way of telling which would be in the majority as we speak?
I mean,
there's a game of numbers. So if Bawumia's people manage to get a lot of their people winning,
you see, the numbers haven't been static from the beginning.
Okay.
We believe that Bawumia was miles ahead a year ago, even in delegates. Over time, events in the country on the economy has made sure that gain is somehow eroded, to a large extent eroded. Last year, if I had sat here to say that Bawumia would not be a flag bearer, I wouldn't believe myself. And I think I said one of the big issues that I think Bawumia will be a flag bearer. But now I can't say that. Because what I've seen.
You can't say that because it is clear or it's very close.
It's very close. It is very close. And I'm not going to stick my neck. He is slightly ahead from what we have seen, slightly. It's not huge enough to deliver him a knockout blow.
And you said earlier that if this will be pushed into a runoff, then Bawumia will suffer.
If the race goes into runoff, we don't see how Bawumia can get elected.
I see.
Because we've seen the data that shows that people who are sympathetic to Kennedy Japan, who are MPP, 63% of them vote for Alan in a runoff.
I see. Interesting. Richard, the incumbency has advantages. Incumbency brings resources, it brings access, all of that. Is your team worried that it's not Bawumia's fault that he has incumbency advantage, but is this something your team is worried about? Because government machinery, DCEs, MCEs, a lot of people, ministers, etc., will play along that, and it may move the wave in favor of Bawumia against Alan. Is that something you guys have considered?
In actual fact, we are excited by it.
By the seeming incumbency advantage that Bawumia will get?
The fact that he's the establishment candidate, because history is on our side, precedent is on our side. What is playing out right now played out in 2007.
When Alan was the establishment candidate.
Yes, every minister, every DC, every CEO, they came out and said that they were for Alan. Yes, that's how it plays out, because they are being whipped. You see, the only difference is that in this particular scenario, you have the leadership falling into the gutter themselves, trying to do same. That's where I have my problem. If the new leadership stay neutral, it's okay. But when you fall into the gutter and we are done, and you have to sit at the round table with the same person you were against, I'm saying that if you have conscience, you will probably recuse yourself. You understand that? And for that not to happen, you should probably start taking a second look at yourself.
So by leadership, you mean the party leadership, the party proper or parliament, the party proper?
Oh, it's all in leadership. You're talking about someone in the, yes, because in parliament, you see, you have a major role in parliament. You are representing the party and you're representing the government as well. Because government will bring certain bills to be passed. And I'm saying that the blatant attitude of some of them, if one or two people just decide that we're going to punish you for this attitude you're putting up, it will affect the government. So far, most of our MPs, or all of them, have been very mature and they have not sought to punish the government for it, and so have played around. But I'm saying that you don't put people in such a fix. Move on to the party side. The party, through the general secretary and chairman, are supposed to be acting. They are not doing same. But you know what? Why is it a disadvantage to the vice president? Like he said, a year or two ago, things were rosy, things were looking good. So he carried that wave, he was riding on that. It's to his advantage. Today, people, there's a hue and cry out there that things are not going well. Trust me, the party people are affected as well. The party people are sitting at the grassroots, okay, minding their own business. You are a minister, you are a CEO, you are a member of parliament. They see you enjoy certain largesse, and then from nowhere you come and tell them that you have decided that according to the establishment, you are going with this candidate. They're not sheep. They are able to make their own choices and decisions. And if anything is to go by, Kwewu is a very good example. Kumewu, right now, you've seen the party and government all of a sudden swam the candidate and pretending that they are supporting.
But so you mean the candidate, the guy who won, is it Ernest?
Yes. But we know what happened there.
So what happened?
We know
what
that
happened?
the support, the official candidate was the lady.
So the lady was the official candidate?
Yes. And what happened in the end? Just last year.
So the guy who won now, the NS person was an Alan guy, is that what you're saying?
That is it.
Also, the NS, who is the candidate for Kumawu now, for MPP, is an Alan
I'm
person.
saying that is it. That is where he belongs. They can choose to poo-poo it. Right now, he belongs to everybody. But I'm saying that when it mattered most, they had their choice. And I'm saying that is a litmus test. Just go back last year, June. We saw what Wontumi and Co did. Took pictures and did audios of 15 regional chairmen. So telling everybody that this is the establishment candidate. And it was going to be massive. In the end, what happened? You see,
so you're talking about the John Bodu election?
Yes.
So does it also presuppose that JFK, who is now the general secretary, is a pro-Alan guy?
No, that is not the presumption. But I'm saying that John Bodu was the establishment candidate. When the party system and structure feel alienated, they will punish you for your actions and inactions. Currently, that is where we are. The party feel left out. The common saying among party faithfuls is "Yenya hwe, yenya hwe." And they are not saying it for nothing. Look, we have a situation where, and the common example they cite, that even when they say recruitment, okay, or scholarship, the government tells you go and do it online. When they are busy campaigning and getting people onto the party, you finish winning, and then you tell them that even a scholarship for the person to go and study, they should go and apply online. You cannot.
But why should they apply?
Hold
The
on.
digitization.
Yes.
I mean, the system has worked.
Yes, the system has worked.
And
But
the system has worked.
yes,
And everybody
so-
must be given equal
yes,
opportunity.
Everybody is given
we're
equal
all Ghanaians.
opportunity. You see, but the most important thing is that you take care of your base. You should have some protocol that will
You
take care of that.
you split Ghana
Yes.
into two.
No, you're not
And
splitting
you
it
take care
into
of your
two.
own first.
Now let me tell you something.
But that will not be
hold on.
correct.
No. The NDC will tell you that that is what they do.
No, but we need to move away from that. That's not correct.
No. I'm telling you, if you
Recruitment
want to
should be
be
fair.
in government,
The recruitment should
yes,
be fair.
no, Solomon. If you want to be in government, first and foremost, you have to have power to be able to influence and change things. If you lose it, there's nothing you can change. Okay? Now, if the base, the people who go and harvest the votes for you, after harvesting it, you leave them there and tell them that when they want something, they should go and do it this way.
But
And
the
chances of
online
getting
thing,
it-
I'm interested in the
I'm saying-
online thing. But
Yes, I'm
that's
saying
the way
that-
to go.
yes, I'm saying
Digitization.
that, no, it's okay.
Digitization,
It's fine. I'm
online.
saying that. So what stops you from doing 70% online and 30% protocol for your party people to also benefit from?
No, but
Is there anything wrong with it?
No, but that would not be proper.
I'm saying there's anything
Why
wrong.
would you be discriminating?
No, there's no discrimination
No.
here. Are your
Just-
party people not Ghanaians?
No, but just on the
Are they
basis
not-
of belonging
are they
to
not-
my
no.
party.
No, I'm saying that. I will give them, I'm telling you. So this is what we are telling them. Because I think that for me to dedicate myself to the party and bring you to power, I would also have to benefit one way or the other. Nobody does politics for the sake of it. It is personal. The person has to be able to prove that I have also enjoyed something out of it. Even in the United States of America. The party people who are out there garnering votes for the Republicans and conservatives and the Democrats would have to, in the end, show that they have benefited from it.
Yes.
So if your system of running things eliminates them completely, okay, and in any case, even when they
So when you come,
there's
recruitment
even-
to the security agencies, public institutions, etc.
Listen.
will be MPP first.
No, Alan is actually the emphasizing governing, using the governing structure to gain advantage. He's saying that we should start it with a party. So, and this is not just a saying.
And is he the one who says he's going to pay pension for the
Yes,
party? How's
yes.
he
Now,
going to do
let
that?
me show you how he did it.
He's also
It's-
promising.
no,
We
it's
just spoke
done,
about
it's done,
Bawumia and the
it's
promises he
done,
made.
Yes,
He's also
yes.
promising.
No, hold on. The difference between Bawumia and Alan is this. Alan, whatever he's saying, he has done it before. Look,
He's
in
paid pension for party people before.
2007, okay, he brought what we call constituency business ventures, where he gave seed money to every constituency. The constituency was responsible for identifying a business venture that they would put the money into. So some rural constituencies, for instance, bought what we call Nika Nika and granny mills, okay? And the granny mills were running. The proceeds were being used to pay the party executives and also to do party work. So when there are finance and all those things, those donations, they were using those proceeds. For all the constituencies in 2007, what happened was that there was no continuity. And this was an idea he brought before he went into the elections. Thinking that, okay, it's a brilliant move. What you would have expected was that Nanado comes, let's dedicate some federal party funds to that, to grow it. So that if they had 2 or 3 granny mills, we'll add a 4th and a 5th one. It's expanding. That is how you grow a party. Then the party itself becomes business conscious, private sector minded. So he's saying that I did this before. And there are people who are attesting to it. Some constituencies went into transport business with their monies. Others went into farming with their monies. But it was not sustained because there were no federal capital injections. So he says that I'm going to revisit this thing. But this time, I'm taking it up to the polling station level. So we have area in my constituency, for instance, we have 27 polling station areas, okay, coordinators. So
Or
if
electoral
you
areas.
electoral areas. So if you set up such businesses around them, naturally, for one of them, they are able to trickle down to all the polling stations under them. He thinks that, and he's using the Chinese Communist Party model, where the party actually is more attractive outside than in government. Are you aware the Chinese Communist Party is having challenges getting people to actually be part of government? Because they have created business
So
opportunities
they want to
outside.
be in the party.
They want to be in the party because that is where business opportunities are. And he thinks that that is how you sustain a party and ensure continuity. Because if the NPP was able to use that model, people would not be struggling to be in parliament, to be in government, to be ministers, so that they can live off the government. And it's all simply bringing business ideas and models. It's the same thing he did with the 1D1F then. He didn't use government money. Are you aware of that? It was largely providing access to business people who had challenges. So somebody probably has land challenges. The ministry helps them to resolve the land issue. Someone has financing challenges. He gets a bank to finance it for you. Someone has like a marketing challenges. He brings you into contact with those who will buy the product. And this was arranged, and that is how we easily got all the 292 factories running.
I see. So
Somebody has to be business conscious.
I see.
And that has been his way of life all this while. And he's
But
like,
he's
I'm
been
bringing that
he's been
up.
part
So
of
the party-
he's been part of government. Okay?
Yes.
I'm wondering how he would disentangle himself from the so-called mess of the administration. You know, Musa was saying that because of the difficulties in the economy, Bawumia will suffer
Yes.
an incumbency disadvantage, if there's any phrase like that. How, and Alan too has been part and parcel of it. In fact, Alan was one of the first ministers.
He was
named.
the first to be
In
named
fact,
as the
before the election itself, the president made it clear to everybody that Alan would be his trade minister. And that was it.
And then when he did, he gave it
Yes,
to him.
and so he's been part of it. Indeed, we got to know recently that he chaired the economic team in cabinet, which is key. And the other side argues that that was even a creation of the constitution. EMT can go and sleep. That was just a convention. So if somebody must be blamed for the economy, it must be Alan and not Bawumia.
First and foremost.
So how is he disentangling himself from this?
Salom, have you seen the justification the vice president has put out for the 2.2 million jobs? Have you seen it?
Yes, I think I've roughly seen it.
Yes. And what you saw, you realize that a chunk of the jobs
Yes,
that have
Alan.
been created are under Alan. So how do you blame Alan for creating that?
For creating jobs.
Of all the ministries, when you list them, Alan's ministry created the most.
Because that's what he has to do. That is
the point.
But he didn't do
That is the point.
enough.
So if the government has anything to show, which we are currently touting as 2.2 million jobs, it is the same Alan's record that you are using. So I'm saying that I find that difficult for you to put. If there's any hope, if there's any part of the economy that is currently functioning that we can point fingers at, it is the trade and industry
But
ministry.
the Guta people are not happy with trade ministry because they feel that the trade ministry is not implementing the rules or the laws as they have to be. So a lot of foreigners in retail trade.
Yes.
Alan is actually shied away from that. He's not dealt with that, frontally. And so we have a lot of foreigners doing retail, and Guta is not happy. And Guta is such a huge constituency.
No, look, Guta is a huge constituency. You cannot come and solve all the problems at a go.
But that's
Alan
key.
put in a system in place among the Guta members, and at a point they themselves agreed that it was the way to go.
But why didn't it work?
result-
It's not working.
Oh,
Recently,
it's
there was a woman from Nigeria who brought wigs at Dansuman, and it became a big matter.
Yes.
Wigs, maybe on campaign trail, so this
No,
wig
but you see-
matter.
no,
They were
no,
selling
no.
wigs.
You see, do you ask yourself that is it even a feasible option? What Guta is saying, does it necessarily mean is the right thing?
But that's what our law, that's the law.
Yes.
So let's change it.
So
But that's
that,
the law.
that is one thing that we'll have to look at. But I'm saying that you asking whether Alan can dissociate himself from what is happening. He doesn't need to dissociate himself because his record speaks for itself. And I've given you the job aspect as one.
So in
Now,
the whole
his-
darkness, his
yes.
side is a light.
Look, the point is that the president, even the finance minister, all predicted the collapse of this economy, didn't they? Has the economy collapsed?
No, but they said
Has it collapsed?
after May, if
Has
not
it,
with the IMF.
has it collapsed?
No, it hasn't.
It is standing on something. The route that this economy is currently on
It's
Alan's work. Those industries that he's put up, because you have individual companies, manufacturers who are.
But the GSS, the Ghana Statistical Service,
who have
recently said people are leaving manufacturing into services. So it may not be doing so well after all.
No. So they are leaving manufacturing into services. Point is that he set up to create manufacturing jobs. Okay, Alan has brought in hitherto 300 manufacturing companies that did not exist. That is an addition to our value chain.
I see.
Yes. 2, he has brought in an automobile sector that prior to this never existed. You have about 8 of them now actively working and bringing in some other sectors of the economy in terms of creating spare parts industries as well through your aluminium value chain. That is to come on board. It is his brainchild. The president, whilst launching this Kia thing, indicated that we're looking at exporting over 100,000 vehicles per annum.
So that's Alan's work.
I'm saying that prior to Alan bringing that, did anybody dream of it? Yes. This economy now has some roots to hold on. There are some pillars. And it's all down to him. If you talk about NAPCO, what is there? Haven't the NAPCO jobs collapsed?
But who did NAPCO?
Who did NAPCO? There was a NAPCO head. Have you forgotten? Dr. something.
Anyas.
Yeah.
No, but he wasn't a minister. He was just appointed.
Yes. So
but it's an idea.
I'm saying that. And who was Dr. Anyas working under?
Who was he working
The
under?
vice president.
Oh, so the point you're making is that the NAPCO was a vice president's idea, and that has collapsed. That wasn't sustainable. Meanwhile, Alan's works are standing.
They are there. They are standing on their feet, and that is what this economy is currently anchored on. You cannot change that.
NAPCO.
You can't.
But NAPCO was a stopgap measure. There were people at home for 7 years, 6 years, 5 years,
Yes.
and so they brought in this to make them economically viable.
So what I'm saying
and through
is
NAPCO,
that
many of them have had jobs.
Yes,
and
but
they moved on.
in the last few years,
So it was successful.
It was successful to a point. You don't need things that are successful to a point. They are stopgap measures. In the case of Alan, he is bringing sustainable jobs, things that will go into the future.
And digitization is also creating a lot of jobs.
Digitization. Are you telling me digitization is the creation of somebody?
No, but that's what he's championing.
He's champion. Who is championing?
Baumia is championing.
And
I see in your 10-point agenda something on digitization.
It's a
as well.
continuous process. The NDC did their digitization to a point. The vice president obviously championed it and took it to another level. Alan is telling us through the GTP that he is going to digitize the whole
The GTP meaning the Great Transformation Program.
Plan. Yes, he's going to digitize the whole formal sector. Okay, all the ministries and the agencies should not have this kind of paperwork still ongoing. If we are digitizing, we should start from home. And those are the ministries and departments. Let it come home to roost, so that when you go to have a business interaction with the ministry, you eliminate the bureaucratic human factor, where you have the digital system actually dictating it, so that somebody does not have to take or give something to be able to have access to governance.
I see.
And that is where his focus is.
I see.
It's not just hollow.
Very well.
It's anchored on something.
Very well. Anycam, if all he's saying is anything to go by, then it means it's a done deal, because a great transformation plan, the automobile, 100,000 cars to be exported, that means there's a lot.
Exporting cars already.
Yes, it means there's a lot. So it means NDC, doesn't really have a chance. We've tried John Mahama before. This is the new guy we have to try. And we know John Mahama. We know him. He didn't bring the automobile industry, the 1D, 1F, creating jobs. So we all have to go rally behind Alan Kyerematen and forget about John Mahama.
John Mahama didn't have to give taglines or tags to...
But it helps recall.
It helps. Good. But you see, one good thing about Alan, I would say here, is that he's not talking too much. Unlike his compatriot Baumia, who is so talkative, and in Nigeria terms they say talk no do, but that's virtually.
And Alan actually said a similar thing. He said no talk
no do.
No talk only action.
No.
Netu.
No, it's now
It's
our
netu.
decision is that let's talk No, less promises, more action.
Yeah, but he took a swipe in his first speech. He called it neto. No action, talk only. So, you know, all right, you go ahead.
Yeah, and this is a known fact that, like I kept saying, Dr. Bawumia discredited himself too much. He tattered himself. He destroyed himself. He allowed himself too much to be used sort of as a major propagator of every agenda of the establishment, which is why they also have to back him anyways. But you see the examples...
No, but was that not his job to do? If they sit together at cabinet or wherever, decide that this is the direction we are going, communication is important.
Communication
Somebody
is key. You
had
have
to
communication,
push it, and that's what he did.
but not necessarily the vice president, the second in line. I mean,
But who should do that? The president
well,
himself?
it could be a lot of the
No,
communicators.
but if you
and
believe
all
in
of
it,
that. Well, it is what has brought
him.
him where he is now, where he's become his own Achilles heel. Because to the Ghanaian out there watching, listening, who wants to hear Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, a lot of his own tapes keeps playing in their heads. And to their own delegates too. He said this, he said that, he said this, he said that. But what has happened to this and all of that? The truth is that to the NDC, none of them is an option. The entire NPP is not an option. And we do not care anyways. However, the fact remains that one of them would have to be presented to Ghanaians. And whoever it is, we know of our presumptive candidate, John Dramani Mahama.
But how is John Mahama, how is he dealing with Dufour? Because Dufour has been saying that, of course, we credit the NDC, I mean the first part of the NDC with some good economic growth. Dufour is saying that he was finance minister then. So if there was anything good in that administration, it has to be attributed to him. And he is the messiah, really. He's the guy to deal with the current economic problems.
Fair enough. Let's give him all the 100% credit and let's see what the outcome will be in the end on 13th May. Simple as that. It's not worth any argument challenging Dr. Dufour.
And you see,
he's a stalwart.
The points Richard is complaining about, Mahama appears to be benefiting from that as well.
Well,
at your last Congress, speaker after speaker after speaker referred to him as a candidate in waiting, as a presumptive candidate.
And that is because...
And that's the same problem that he is complaining
It is
about.
because...
The playing ground doesn't appear fair.
You see, no, not that it's not fair. The fact is because President Mahama conducted himself till date very well.
So the
Can
party
you say same
leaders
of...
must
not
be endorsing him on
not
national
must,
platform.
but will feel compelled to even want to endorse
and
him.
be wearing Tuasu
Yes.
cap and things
Yes.
on stage.
You see,
regional
no,
chairman.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is why, you see, when you juxtapose that with the NPP scenario, it is because of a lot of indisciplinary actions from within. In the case of Richard and Alan and Bawumia, which is why. In the case of President Mahama and all others, everybody knows. Look, President Mahama this time around would win possibly by 98% minimum.
Really?
Yes, I'm telling you, mark it, and I'll come to your studios again to confirm that. And look, it is because, okay, if anybody should come from within the NPP, the NDC to contest, on whose credit are they going to do so? It is largely going to be 95% on the credit of John Mahama's achievement.
And he himself is in the race.
And he himself is in the race.
He's fighting.
And so, in
on
marketing
his own-
terms,
on his own record.
which product would you consider to be most marketable at this point in time? And even if you want to compare President Mahama and even Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, I'm sure you will tell that President Mahama's popularity is far advanced compared to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Debatable though.
I see the poster is here.
Yeah, but I'm saying this because he has also been vice president and has been president. So his popularity cannot be just written off. Don't forget that in just the last elections, he still appreciated his vote compared to what he had in 2016.
2016 was a shalakim. 2016 was bad.
Yes.
1 million votes.
Yet he rose immediately. And so in 2020, his vote still appreciated. The very person who said he was competent and had another economic whiskey with him rather depreciated.
But that's always the case. I
Well,
mean, your
whether
votes
always
will
the case-
reduce. You know, your votes before the nomination or the election is always more than when you.
But the margin is also very important.
Yeah, so
by that
how-
huge margin.
Well,
you get it.
I see.
And so I think that with the NPP, I think the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has soiled himself. He has failed his own people. And if you've noticed, he's going on a certain tangent, either trying to now say, you recall when he used to say, we now need a Muslim in the at the presidency. Very infantile submissions politically. Very, very infantile.
No, but
needless.
what's wrong with that?
Well, you see, those are some of the unacceptable political gimmicks that would polarize us. Now that we have a Muslim at the presidency, what has been his effect so far? Is it just by praying Allah Akbar at the presidency, or making sure that people get work to do, people get jobs, etc.?
But the job figures show. I mean, all right.
That is another debate for another time.
Salom,
Yes, but you've spoken out.
Yes, there's this issue about the trade ministry. I've just had a letter, actually written by Guta, on the resignation of Alan. That is contrary to what you were saying. Guta saddened by the sudden resignation of the trade and industry minister. It was written on the 6th of January 2023.
So Guta wasn't happy.
Yes, and their point was that his track record, their interactions with him, and all that they've done till date indicates that he's the right man for the job, and they wish he will continue to do it.
Maybe they wish he would continue as minister, not president.
No, this is his resignation. They liked what they were getting out of him, and so they wanted him to stay.
Very well.
But unfortunately, he has a bigger plan that he intended to roll out.
Yes, let me talk to Doc, because we're almost done. So let me talk to Doc. Doc, thanks so much for still being here with us. Just a short couple of things. Bawumia comes up as, though he's an insider proper, many think that he's an outsider. And some of the messages going around is that he wasn't even in the party prior to 2007. His father was Council of State Chair, NDC, and all of that. Will those things matter? Do they matter at all? If he was an outsider, he helped you win an election and a re-election. And indeed, he was the guy who led a lot of the things in the campaign and brought a lot of credibility to the ticket and a whole lot. Will it be fair to say that he's an outsider now that it is time for him to be rewarded for all the hard work he did?
Right, thank you. I think those things do not matter at all. Outsider, so why did you bring him in? Why did you support him into the election for him to win? Right? So they do not matter. It's just because, others are also looking for, to lead the party. That is why those things are being raised. Apart from that, the NPP as a party, at every point in time, we want to recruit new people, new voters, and all that. So,
but they must go through the mill. That's the argument. That they must go through the mill to get to the top.
But what mill? Someone who rose to become the vice president of the republic, right? He led. If you look at if you go back to the 2016 campaign, Bawumia was one person who held MPP's campaign. At a certain point in time, it was like, he was the lead campaigner, right? And they won. So all those things that he said, you can read from Elikam's submission, all those things that he said in those, the 2016, the lead up to the 2016 elections were relevant to the MPP. They were happy about everything that he said. These are some of the things that are coming back to him now. So virtually they supported him, they urged him on. He was part and parcel of the campaign that brought the NPP into office, right? And he served at least the second 10-7 as a vice president of the republic, right? So basically, those things, they do not matter at all.
They do not
right?
matter. Yeah, very well. The other point really is, should Bawumia win and should Mahama win, we'll now have two candidates, two major political parties coming from the northern sector of the country. The NDC has enjoyed great support from the northern sector of the country. What would that mean to the chances of the two parties? Two of them coming from the same region, one being a stronghold of the NDC. Will Bawumia split or take away that votes from that region from the NDC, or will it split it? Will it benefit from that because it's coming from that region? What will it be?
The point is that I will answer that. But the point is that if you take Bawumia, who comes from the north, and he cannot do anything, what about picking Alan Chamantin or any other person? Would that person be able to galvanize that support from the north, right? But the point is that for me, we should look at things beyond this, because the point is it's about the economic conditions. Economic situation prevailing in this country. That is going to affect the MPP. Whoever is going to lead the MPP, that is it. But as to whether, looking at the situation, the ruling party is facing serious challenges, right? The economic conditions, high domestic prices, poor public working conditions, poor governance, so many things, right? And now listening to Richard, right? You can just ask that maybe have they learned their lessons from the previous? I mean, is it 2007?
2007, yes.
Exactly. Okay. Look at what happened at the time, right? The differences, the disagreements, conflicts here and there, to the point where Alan Chamantin said he resigned and all those type of things. Did they win that particular election? They lost. All right. Here they are again. Now the same party, look at some of the things that are coming out. So it's not about whoever is going to win, but how they'll be able to reconcile their differences. So if they go ahead to be giving it to each other left and right, at the end of everything, one person will be leading. And how would they be able to organize themselves, reconcile, in order to face the NDC? NDC is not going to face serious challenges in terms of its internal elections, but the MPP is going to face, because if you look at, I mean, the people that are contesting, it's very close, right? So that for me is going to be this, but it will be very difficult for, even though Bawumia scored, I mean, the first time he came as a running mate, if you look at his percentage in the north, it was not that good. But in the last election, I think the MPP won Northeast, right? So, I mean,
that's Bawumia's home region.
Hello?
That's Bawumia's home region.
That's his home region, right? But in the previous election, if you look at the data, the performance was not good. But looking at the economic challenges, I doubt if they are going to repeat the same thing they did in 2020. It's going to be very difficult for the MPP. So generally, it's not just about Bawumia, but as the ruling party itself is going to face serious challenges in the 2024 election. That one, they have to end. That should also guide them as to how they even conduct their own internal primary. Because if you are already facing economic challenges, I mean, people are not happy about, I mean, the governance, poor governance, and all kind of things. And internally, you are not able to manage yourself too well. Then it means that it is going to be very, very, very tough. And I mean, I think Elike made his submission. He said that Bawumia is not a threat to the NDC. Look, whoever will be elected by the MPP will be a significant threat to.
I think he was talking about it in relation to the two. You know, anybody on MPP ticket to be a threat because of the bigness of the party and what the party represents. But I think he was looking at it in comparative terms to Alan.
Yes, any person who will be contesting on the ticket of the MPP will be a significant threat to the NDC. In fact, John Mahama is the most significant threat to the MPP's retaining power in 2024. That is a fact, right? So whoever will be elected, I mean, so we have to get.
I think the contest really is who can the NDC easily beat. You understand? Who can the NDC? They are both threats, but who can the NDC easily beat? He is thinking that Bawumia is no threat. Whether we agree or not, I mean that's the view he has with his party.
Looking at the situation, looking at the prevailing situation now, NDC can beat any other candidate in the MPP, and that is why they have to work very hard. But and to also the NDC, even though things are looking that positive for the NDC, one thing they should take note is that it's easier for MPP, right, to win elections than the NDC. Why am I saying so? With the exception of John Rawlings in, the two elections that he contested, right, where he had, 58 and then 57% of the vote. No other NDC candidate ever had 51% in election. So, Atandel had 50.2, John Mahama had 50.7. If you look at the MPP, whenever they are, things are very good for the MPP and they are winning, they get around 53 and that kind of thing. So it was even the last time that John Mahama, moved in opposition, moved from about 45% to 47%. So it means that NDC will have to work extra harder. They need to work very hard. Even though things are very difficult for the MPP and things are very positive for the NDC, they need to work extra hard. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Jalilu Ateku, political science lecturer. Thanks so much. So that's how we conclude this segment of the program. What do you want to say? 1 second.
You know what? The EIU report.
Yes.
You realize that It's only Alan Tremantin that is mentioned in that report on the MPP side, the government side.
I see.
It's not for nothing.
I see. All right.
He and the vice president are in a contest,
But they didn't
and
mention
they
the vice
tell
president.
you that he resigned his office to contest as president
Very well.
with others.
That
That tells you a significant thing.
But that
This
didn't
same
resign.
week,
So-
Africa Watch tells you
I ran out
that
of
the
time.
presenting nominee is Alan.
Alan.
They are
Africa the global
yes.
info-
It's also
info
pointing
analytics.
to the same thing because look, since it started, it was all for Bawumia, but
Alan is
as
eating
time
into it.
coming,
Alan is
yeah,
okay.
he's fading.
Very
And we
well.
are climbing.
Very well. So
It's
that's Richard Jama.
It's obvious.
We'll be contesting the Kwandai seat. Deputy spokesperson for Alan and the Alan campaign. Elikem Kotoko, Deputy National Organizer of the
I just want to
NDC.
share something briefly with you.
1 second.
Yeah, just to tell you John Mohammed's reverence and all that. You see, this is, you see what I have here?
What is that? John Mahama versus Dufour Junior.
That's
All right,
Dufour
I see
Junior
that.
contestant,
All right, so
and,
Musa
he
Dankwa.
believes in even in
Very
John
well.
Mahama.
Musa Dankwa, Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Thank you so much, guys, for coming to do this the whole day. When you have politicians and a poster and an academic on your show, you can talk the whole day. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
So we end this segment. We go to the next segment, which is the increasing rate of unemployment, whether there's a need to chart a new path or not. Thank you so much for doing the listening. We'll be right back with the second segment of the program. Don't go away. Welcome back to the big issue on 97.3 City FM. Gone by is a discussion on the politics. Alan Tremantin, Bawumia, John Mahama, and Dr. Dufour. Which of them will be on the ballot in 2024? But before that, they have to win their primaries, and that is a big issue, really, on the big issue on Saturday morning. So we're looking at now the matter of unemployment. Earlier in the week, the Ghana Statistical Service released some data from a study they conducted, and it suggests quite a number of things, and key amongst them is the fact that about 7.5 million people remained unemployed throughout the 3 quarters out of the 11 million persons employed in each quarter. They said a number of things. About 1.7 million people were unemployed in the last quarter. Points to one thing: there's growing economic difficulty, no jobs, etc. How do we do this? The government has said through the Deputy Employment Minister that policy will respond. And I'm wondering how the policy is going to respond. Policy should be responding, or should have been responding all along. But maybe they have the data now, and policy will have to respond. In the studio to help us deal with this matter is Dr. Prince Ejay, who is a labor economist with the University of Ghana. Doc, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Salom.
Yes, and labor economist. When we talk about labor economists, one thing which comes to mind very easily is Dr. Bob Boating, and I know it's your senior colleague and all of that.
It's now
so
Prof.
It's now Professor William Bob Boating. All right, we also have Kingsley Lau, who is a research analyst with the Ghana Employers Association, and Austin Game, labor consultant. The same way we talked about labor economists, Austin Game is one name also in the labor sector that is very popular. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. So Doc, you've seen the GSS report, What does it tell you? What jumps out at you upon looking at the report?
Thank you, Salom, and a very good morning to our viewers. Three things I deduced from the report. Number one, this particular report tries to analyze unemployment from two angles, the stock perspective and the flow perspective. So in terms of stock perspective, we have statistics on what the current rate of unemployment is, but in terms of flow, the analysis goes to further give us characteristics of the type of jobs that individuals do, and the issue of mobility, how that individuals move between jobs. And so, number one, the issue of mobility is discussed thoroughly within the report. Number two, the issue of vulnerability is also discussed. And then number three, the issue of what you call the triple burden is also discussed within.
So what's a
the
triple
report.
burden?
The triple burden looks at individuals who are unemployed, who are food insecure, and who do not have what we call coping strategies in times of shocks. So the report also discusses that.
I see. So the general findings of the report, are they things that, did they surprise you given what you know already? Or it's more or less the same? You know, did anything in the report surprise you?
Well, I am not too surprised with the outcome of the report. I mean, without even collecting data, when we look around us, people we live with within our neighborhood, when you talk to people, you could actually see the evidence on ground. So I feel that the report only comes to concretize what you already know, but like I said, it goes beyond the figures to now tell us some more characteristics of the situation on grounds.
I see. So government says it has to respond by policy. How should government consume this report?
So good. So like I mentioned, the report, one thing that I saw from the report that is revealing is the fact that about 2/3 of the unemployed people are in vulnerable jobs. And where you have a high rate of vulnerability, it means that even though people are working, the work may not be decent enough. They are not earning very good incomes. They do not have what we call job security in terms of their belongingness to unions and etc. Things that will boost their job satisfaction, they do not have. So this is a signal to government to try to put in measures not only to increase numbers, but to improve working conditions of workers.
So is it a case, I mean, in your view, that even though this problem existed, government didn't know, and so government did not put in place those measures you are calling for now, and so that's where we are here?
Well, I wouldn't say government is in the dark. I mean, we all know government has put in quite a number of interventions, but you will notice that the narrative has always been about how many jobs we have created and not the decency of the job. So I think that the narrative now should go more into how jobs that are created could be more decent for the Ghanaian worker and how their livelihood could be improved.
I see. Let me go to Zoom and speak to Austin Gaming. Austin Gaming, welcome to the program. What jumps up at you upon seeing the report or seeing the highlights of the report as a labor person, a labor industry person? Are there things in the report that are quite concerning to you?
Thank you, and thank you. Also, greetings to your viewers and my colleagues on the program. Honestly, I wasn't surprised, except that I do know that the numbers, if it's to be brought out today, may be quite staggering than the way it's been made known in the report today.
I see. So in your view, the situation is actually worse than the report has captured? Okay, I think we are having some connection difficulties with Austin Gami. Hello, Mr. Gami, are you there? We're having some difficulties with him. We'll resolve that quickly and get back to you. Doc, he's saying that the figures could actually be worse than the statistical service is produced.
Yes, one thing I picked from his comments was that if you look at the situation now, don't forget that this is a report as at 2022, and we are in the second quarter of 2023. So obviously the situation might have escalated. So if we should pick real-time data today, we won't be surprised to see the figures jumping up.
I see. So the report also talked about the fact that people were moving from the manufacturing sector more to services.
Yes.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, so this captures what I call the flow dimension of employment or unemployment. So here we are looking at how individuals transit from one sector to the other. The question about entry and exit from one sector to the other may be about the nature of the job characteristics. So if you look at the services sector, for instance, mostly it is dominated by trade. And with these activities, one do not need high skills to be able to buy or sell. Usually it is dominated by high informality. And so people are moving from areas that they feel that job requirements are not too rigorous. In terms of even setting up, they may not need huge financial outlay to set up something on their own. For me, it is not a very good sign because jobs in those kind of sectors are usually not sustainable. And in terms of income generating, I feel that if more attention is paid to the manufacturing sector, it could help because that has the magic wand, to change the trajectory of the growth. Again, jobs within the service sector, per the report, are mostly dominated by women. And that is also because there are some rigidities that do not favor women, especially if they have to work within the manufacturing sector. And so they want an easy way out to go into the buying and selling. So that is what I see from the transition.
I see. Mr. Austin Gami is back. Mr. Gami, sorry we lost you briefly, but you were making a point that if the figures were looked at, the report was put out today, or figures were taken today, it would be more staggering than the report has produced. What can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, that's quite obvious. Just like my brother was saying, today, practically, if you go to some of the notable markets in Accra, most of them have closed their shops. And they're at home. If you want to buy a spare part, you have to call them to enable them to go and open, and they give it to you, and they close and they're gone. A lot more other such like things are taking place. So they are really not PCV with the work they are doing because of maybe the excessive taxation, on their wares, and so they don't want to. So I know many people who are no longer going to some of the big shops to go and buy anything like bread and so forth because they have to pay more. And so there's a lot more than the eyes can behold. And like rightly my brother said, the skill level, the skill decay level in Ghana is extremely very high. And we work on assumption that we are extremely the best in the world and so forth. That is just an illusion that does not represent what really is on the ground. So clearly, the report has come to expose us to a lot more things. I think this is the best of among the reports in the whole of the Fourth Republic I've seen. And if we have to drill it down, clearly there's something wrong. To me, the summary of it is that we appear to be having problem with high quality leadership to guide us into doing what is we are better off doing to propel us out of these doldrums of economic strangulation. I think that is where we are.
High
And if
quality
there's
leadership.
anything we don't appear to have that. We have leaders, but we need high quality leadership in this 21st century.
On the industry front or the political front?
The entirety, especially political front, we need to have high quality leadership, selfless, people who are ready and willing to serve this nation and not themselves. If we can have those class of people, it is very easy. If we take the 1992 Constitution, even the directive principles of state policy alone should be enough to guide us to have policies that will lead this country out of the situation we find ourselves. But what is too difficult about, ensuring that, for instance, the good thing brought about by, let's say, the government about one district, one factory. Fantastic idea. Jobs for planting for jobs.
Planting for food and jobs.
For food is fantastic.
And raring for food and jobs.
What are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? Almost zero. Almost zero.
But we are planting. Government is sending fertilizers and seeds and inputs to the farmers. So a lot is being done.
Well, I also go around and I can tell you that people are suffocating on that. That's why we are having food insecurity of a kind in this country. That's why we have unemployment rates so high like this. If agriculture were to be booming, we will not have the kind of report we have. We will not have the kind of report we have. So what we need to do is to have proper leadership. And when we have that high quality leadership, it will lead us out of the doldrums we find ourselves in. But I think that, let me put it this way also. What is about employment? When somebody is temporarily employed, his tenure of that thing will end. When somebody is employed casually, it will end. When there is a bidding, and I bidded and I won a contract to construct a road from, let's say, city where you are to, let's say, Parliament House, that construction work will end. The people I will employ, their work will cease along the line, even though they've been employed for the 1.5 years that the construction will be taking place. If that is captured, if we are to capture today, similar report, all those people become unemployed, they will transit into another job or they'll be unemployed. And so if we are to really do nice for the researchers like my brother in the studio and others to research and find out where do the people transit to. Those jobs that are casual in nature, seasonal, and so forth, like it is captured in BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, where I did a lot of my study in the US. They don't report just for the sake of it. They ensure that they disaggregate and bring out the minutest aspect of it. Those jobs that are casual, those that are temporary, those that are contract-based, those that are job for life. Till death do you part. Those kind of things must be clear so that all of us will know. This report by some political office holders that we have created, let's say, 2.2 million jobs in either a quarter or a year may not be totally the case, because if you take even the ILO interpretation, if you work for 1 hour and you are paid, there's value for it, you have worked. But that cannot be captured as a continuing employment when you have left the job and you are no longer even in any employment. So clearly, it's there for all of us to probe into, and for people to know that we have to find ways and means of lifting ourselves from the situation we find ourselves in.
Does it also, what do you think about the fact that a lot of the unemployed are women? We also thought that because women do a lot of trading, etc., they should be, a lot of those employed really should be women because of the informality of the kinds of work they engage in. So for the report to tell us that more women were unemployed. Does that surprise you, or that is what you think it is really?
Not at all, not at all. It does not surprise me. You have, if you follow, thank God you are a lawyer also. If you follow closely, you see that we have over the previous report that came about how household things and about happenings in the country. It tells you we have 520,000 divorce cases in this country. 420,000 separations from marriages. So that should tell you how that women, because women normally help a lot in keeping the house going. And so if there is unemployment, that is what you will see. That's what you will have on your hand. So clearly women are really, really, really in trouble as far as this country is concerned about unemployment issues. And it moves into so many dimensions and affecting the stability of the country, and people take it for granted. But I can assure you, we have a huge task in front of us.
Very well.
And that is what it is.
Very well. Thank you so much, Austin Gama. Always a pleasure speaking to you. One of these days, we need to drag you into the studio so that we have a more detailed discussion. So grateful to you for your time. Austin Gama is a labor consultant, one of the very popular names in that sector. Thanks so much, Austin Gama. Doc, so let me conclude with you. Low earnings, I mean, vis-a-vis the economic situation, unemployment, everything. We've always had issues with unemployment. But will you say that this particular report is a reflection of the current economic challenges we have? Or you think it has been the situation for many years?
Well, I think it's been the situation for years, but the cracks are deepened more by the economic difficulties we find ourselves now. And so the situation is becoming more dire. People are feeling the heat more. Even people who are formally employed and earning incomes are still complaining. How much more those who do not have stable jobs. So I think that unemployment has always been with us, but for now, the cost of unemployment, that is the effect, is becoming more unbearable because of the negative economic situation we find ourselves.
How about Agric? I thought more people were going into Agric, and that is quite some good news.
Yes, I think that with the government's deliberate policy of, like we said, planting for food and job, and the whole hype about Agric becoming the next big thing to happen. Relatively, quite a number of young people now are becoming excited to go into Agric. I think that there are more incentives now to move, into Agric. That is also becoming more encouraging. It is common now to see people who are very educated and even professionals who have full-time jobs trying to do some Agric as some kind of secondary jobs. So I think that it's a good signal going into the future for all of us.
So I see. So if you were to give one policy proposition to government after studying this report, what would that be?
Okay, so what I would say is that government should look beyond the stock numbers of employment. Recently we heard that the Vice President even made an allusion that over 2 million jobs have been created. The narrative should go beyond that. Interest should be more on the quality of jobs that have been created, how sustainable those jobs are, so that when we are analyzing the transition, we can know and see that people are having jobs that are not for life per se, but jobs that can give them stable incomes over time, jobs that they feel more secure about, jobs that are more decent and less vulnerable. So policy interventions should be towards improving the quality of jobs and not just the number of jobs that are created.
Very well. Thanks so much. So Dr. Prince J, Labour Economist, University of Ghana, you just heard him speak. Earlier we had Austin Gama, Labour Consultant. That's how we conclude today's edition of The Big Issue. My name is Salom Abinu. Catch you again sometime next week. Stay with CTFM and stay with City TV. Have a good afternoon.